Hi, I'm Dr. Mario Wallace, and welcome to another episode of Whiteboard Discussions. The topic today is accelerating change in organizations using an Agile Science approach. Before I really delve into Agile Science, let's talk about the way change is used today in most organizations. Change takes a top-down approach in most organizations, meaning the people at the top, what's considered or named the C-suite of leaders, determine new changes, new technologies, or new initiatives that need to be brought into an organization to help increase the profitability of productivity of whatever they're doing in that organization. So the C-suite of leaders, who are the CEO, the COO, the CFO, the CHRO, the chief marketing officer, and so forth and so on, come together, determine what needs to be brought into the organization to help the organization be more competitive. That information is pushed down to the director level leaders, as you can see here, the second tier, down into the third tier, which are frontline workers. The problem with this methodology and approach is that the people here do not have a place in decision making, or their decisions are not considered as it relates to how the change is impacting the work that they're doing at the bottom of the organization, such as a technology that's implemented into the organization that totally disrupts the way they do business today. These people, decisions are not considered amongst the entire scheme when it comes to that new change that they are experiencing in the organization. Even after the change has been implemented, they are still not considered as it relates to how they are trying to engage in that new technology. According to this particular structure, people operate in silos, right? There is a vertical structure of communication, top down and bottom up. There is no cyclical or no horizontal method of communication according to this methodology. Although leaders know that there is a horizontal method of communication, it's not considered when implementing change strategies. So basically, when change happens, for instance, this operational leader assesses his team of people or her team of people to determine the barriers to change. Also, the accountant leader, the human resources business part of the leader, and the human resources organizational development leader tend to assesses their own individual group of people to determine the barriers. According to ProSci methodology, there are 5 types of barriers to change. One is awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcements. Based on those 5 barriers to change, leaders tend to determine, based on assessments, which barrier to change they need to educate and build up competencies in to ensure that those barriers do not slow down the change in the organization. As they create or assess the people to understand what's taking place amongst the frontline workers, information goes up very slowly back to the functional managers, to the C-suite leaders, back to the CEO. Information is discussed on what should they do based on what's happening at the frontline level in the organization, or how to mitigate some of the challenges they're facing, and then it goes back down in a slow, methodical way. This structure is based on a gentleman named Frederick Taylor, or Dr. Frederick Taylor, who created the scientific method of management, which looks at the task that people are responsible for, and they're managed according to the task and the responsibility in an organization. His method was very effective in the 60s and the 70s, and somewhat today, and it led to, or it was a precursor to, change management concepts by Kotter, by ProSci, project management concepts, as well as Lean Six Sigma concepts. But one of the main challenges that scientists found with this method is it appeared to treat people like machines, like robots, and not like humans. So the opposite of a top-down hierarchical waterfall approach to change or organization is the Agile Science approach. And this concept was developed by Dr. Malaz Bustani, Jose Azar, and Eric Holden. In this concept or this structure, they believe, according to their research, that organizations, large-scale organizations, are complex adaptive systems, meaning there are a lot of moving parts within an organization. There are a lot of departments, a lot of divisions, a lot of practices, a lot of systems, and people that make up the bulk of the organization. Given that concept, organizations are very complex in its adaptive approach to any type of change that's being implemented in an organization. They also believe that organizations have semi-permeable environments, meaning similar to a cell membrane, right? Within the cell membrane, as you can look at these green dot that goes around these particular communities, is diffusion of information, the spread of information from one cell to the next, right? From one cell within the membrane, the movement of people who tends to organize consistently and differently all the time based on different signals that's taking place within the cellular makeup, right? So you have information that goes from one cell to the next. You have a nucleus that controls the actual cell itself, the community, and these particular cells can move and ebb and flow accordingly based on more of a humanistic approach. Now, within this semi-permeable environment, you have semi-autonomous agents, and those are the people that lives within these particular communities or cells, right? A semi-autonomous agent has somewhat autonomy to do things and make decisions within his or her own environment. Although they report to people within the organization and they use those decisions in those conversations to make decisions on how they move forward, they have some sense of autonomy. So the key to this entire semi-permeable environment is the person in the center, who we consider the hub according to this particular methodology. So this person acts as the nucleus of the community and the center of information, the trust of information, and a lot of the key decision making take place by this person within this actual cluster. So as we can see here, so we have 6 people that control one of these particular clusters. What we have around these people are other individuals who make up these particular clusters or cells or communities, however you choose to call it, and we name them nodes. And nodes sometimes have connections within these communities, where we have connections here, and then we have certain nodes that bridge information across to other actual communities, cells, or clusters. So the key person in this structure is this person in the center. Very, very key, because that person has to control what's taking place within this particular community. And that's how it works, right? We're in a semi-permeable environment where information is diffused across or signals across from one cell to the next or one community to the next, with the intent to create a more healthy environment, especially in a adaptive changing environment. So how does it work? This person here has to be educated on psychological safety, or what we consider the agile mindset, to be able to create diverse conversations within the actual community, to create an environment of safety where people feel they can communicate without being reprimanded. This person also have to effectively give timely communication based on when people respond to information within the environment, but also he or she has to be able to run and test, run iterative sprints, projects, time cycled projects, and learn from those projects. Take those projects and write them out as a standard operating procedure that can be used to replicate across all other different clusters or cells within this particular environment. One thing we know about clusters of people is that people tend to self-organize based on changes that happen in the organization. And that's why we have to really consider a semi-permeable environment, with things that ebb and flow and moves according to new changes in organizations. So if there is a new change, people self-organize in different groups or clusters or communities. And when they self-organize, a leader arises in that particular community who is like the nucleus of that community. And that nucleus leader tends to start to help advance conversation or manage conversation within the community with the expectation or the intent to create change or innovation within the actual community. Not only do people self-organize when a new change initiative takes place, but they also have conditional interactions. People communicate with people based on conditions, right? People within clusters communicate with each other based on conditional interactions. This person chooses to communicate with him, with him, with him, with him. This person chooses to bridge their communication across that group. We have conditional interaction with people who chooses whom they would like to communicate with to get their information. Remember now, the nucleus of each one is the person that people within these clusters feel and think help them to create innovative concept within this environment. The top-down waterfall method of change, in which all the decisions are made at the top and the decisions at the bottom are not considered. In the Agile Sciences method of change, the people or the frontline workers' decisions matter, right? And the core of the most influential person in this environment is the nucleus or the hub, the person in the center who people trust for their information can help with their adoption to change. So again, we talked about this individual must be able to create a psychologically safe environment where people feel freely to talk and discuss without being reprimanded or feared. This person can provide timely feedback. This person also can help run iterative sprint projects and test things over and over again based on things that are being discussed within the group. And if there is success within those tests or those sprints, then those successful sprints are written up into what we call standard operating procedures and used for replication across other clusters within this actual semi-permeable environment. In this environment, what leaders are seeking for is behavior change and innovation, because the diversification of ideas in running actual sprint initiatives can lead to innovative outcome as well as adaptive behavior change. Hopefully this information was helpful, and if you need me to elaborate more, please reach out to me on any of my social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn, or email me at info@allthingswithanstrategic.org. Again, thank you.